ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, all right? Make sure you log it in and you remember to check out my good friends over at the Broken Table Podcast live on YouTube. These are some of my good friends. They have some of the best topics going on. They're talking about a lot of good things. And also, they like to put over the Prince Nana dance. Hey, I swerve and I drive. I swerve and I drive. Hey. Don't forget, tune in, log on to the Broken Tables Podcast live on YouTube, my friends.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Broken Tables Podcast. I'm your host, Jeffrey Vegas, here as always with our reigning, defending, Broken Predictions champion, King Rome. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good.
I'm loving that Eagles hat, man. I think we both chose some nice hats to wear here tonight. Like it. I like it. Dude, this was an excellent episode of Dynamite, if I do say so myself. And I'm kind of going to make a big deal out of it because when I saw the graphic that had all the matches put up, I didn't necessarily feel like disappointed, but I was kind of like, all right, this just looks like a basic episode of Dynamite. It didn't look like anything that was going to be incredible, but I feel like this turned into an incredible episode with some of the storytelling that went on here tonight.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. I think that there was a lot of things that I really liked on this episode of Dynamite.
Yeah.
There were a few things that I couldn't help but take issue with, which we'll get into. I just saw a really funny tweet though. It's about the end of the show. Can I spoil it, or should I try to remember it for the end?
We'll remember it for the end if you can.
Okay, I'll try to remember it.
But before we get into the Dynamite review tonight, I kind of want to talk about a pretty big story going on, in the world of wrestling. With Fox has decided not to renew their contracts with the WWE. And in my opinion, Rome, I actually really feel like this is a bad thing for AEW as well. Fox is basically saying that they didn't get the return on investment that they were looking for with the $1 billion contract, right? So if we were hoping for a $1 billion contract with AEW, Warner has to see one of the most successful television networks in the world that's on regular television, not just cable, If they see them not happy with the WWE at $1 billion, I can't imagine them signing AEW for $1 billion. You know what I mean?
So here's my stance on that. I understand your train of thought. However, I slightly disagree. Number one, and this is again just based off stuff that I've read. Obviously, I do not follow WWE, just beyond what we know on Twitter.
What up, Juhas?
Number one, if I recall, I think Fox was not happy with a few things about SmackDown. Number one, they weren't happy with the install base, the fan base, because they didn't think that they were good to advertise to.
Exactly.
They didn't think that they were smart enough or had the money where advertisers did not want to advertise on Friday night. I mean, first of all, that's hilarious. Number two, probably true. Number three, yeah, that sounds about right. And then other than that, I also had read something, I believe, like last year, a couple months ago, that Fox is always kind of like this. I think it was from Brandon Thirst. I can't remember who exactly it's from. So take that with like the utmost like grain of salt. That I can't even cite the source. I just remember reading something about it where it was just that's then Fox are just not happy with the deal. I don't think that's necessarily a detriment to a deal with Warner Brothers. I think you got to keep in mind that $1 billion for that content is still cheap as far as they're concerned. Especially for how, obviously it's ongoing content. So I don't think that's necessarily it's game over for AEW hoping to get a number like that. And I'm not saying that they're going to get a number. But it's not like WWE is going away just because SmackDown is probably going to have a new home, in 2024, I think it is. I forget exactly when it is. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing for AEW,
I was just thinking that it could lead to Warner kind of being hesitant to sign such a lucrative deal, and to support your side of the argument, it turns out that Fox didn't even attempt to make an offer. They didn't even say like we'll do a $500 million this time. You know what I mean? Like they didn't offer anything. So it may have been that like they were just kind of like, you know what, we just don't want to be in the wrestling market at all, or some sort of a relationship between Fox and WWE may have soured somewhere along the lines. So the fact that they didn't even make an offer, that leads me to believe that your side of the argument might be more correct.
Yeah, again, I just think that it doesn't mean really necessarily that much as far as AEW goes. Also, I mean, just speculation, and I don't think it would happen. But you could also argue that, like, well, maybe that actually can trigger a bit of a bidding war. I mean, like say Fox and WBD. I don't know if that would happen, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. But just thought I'd get that little bit out there. It was definitely something that was racking through my mind all week. But let's go ahead and get into this AEW Dynamite review. Portland, Oregon, man. Great crowd. This is one of those wrestling cities like Philly, man. Every time they go here, they just have a fantastic crowd. Did that come across well for you tonight?
When's the last time they were in Portland?
That's a great question, but I was just thinking, what was I thinking? Where was they go to Seattle a lot? That is not Portland. So yeah, you're right.
I was gonna say, like, how often do they go to Portland that we
No,
are
great point.
establishing as a great town for them to run?
Because this was technically only Sting's second match ever in Portland, I think they said. We'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, great catch there. I don't know why I said that, but Portland was a great crowd, so maybe we could run them in the future. But great crowd here tonight, and we started off with MJF cutting a promo and Garcia as well. I thought this was a great way to open the show, and I think this is maybe the second or third week in a row that they've started the show off with like that really nice promo session before.
Yeah, I think this is like the third weekend.
Yeah, I love it. And we right away we get our AEW World Heavyweight Championship match, Daniel Garcia versus MJF. And man, I knew this was. Oh, go ahead.
So real quickly before we move to the match, I just wanted to point out two things about the opening segment.
Yeah.
Number one, this is the second week in a row that Adam Cole is really pushing MJF to work with Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, I thought it was a really awesome continuation of the payoff. What's going on to Jack? Queen Nat's here as well. What's up, guys? I also thought it was a really good payoff to see Daniel Garcia. MJF's like, am I going to get the sports entertainer tonight, or am I going to get the pro wrestler? And Garcia's like, you're going to get the pro wrestler.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I should have mentioned that as well. Yeah. So he did say he's going to get the pro wrestler, and that made me very happy. And yet we go right into the match, Garcia versus MJF. And this was an amazing match, man. And I actually loved every minute of this. I'm a huge Red Death Garcia fan, and this felt a lot more like he was back to his old, the days when he was wrestling Danielson and creating the Dragon Slayer submission that he has going. Loved it.
So my biggest complaint that I had about this match was, and it's just because this is how I want the structure of the shows to go. This match should have went on last. Now I understand, granted, the ending that they did, it made sense to have Jay White and at ringside. It made sense to have MJF in his spot. I just think that we could have done something here where you probably could have, after this match, if it went on last, still set up for that segment that happens at the very end of the show. I don't know. Again, maybe it's a little bit of a traditionalist thing where it's just like, I just think the biggest match of the night should always go on last. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the world title match, but on this card, the world title match was the biggest match on the show. So, I mean, I get wanting to do a strong lead-in, but I would have definitely put this on last. I felt like, as great as this match was, for me personally, the match fell a little flat. I don't know if it needed more time to cook. I don't know what it was. I really liked the match. It's not that I thought it was a bad match. I just felt like they were kind of like a step away from really doing something great here. And I don't know if maybe like building to it throughout the show would have helped it or whatever it was, but
Hmm.
it was a great match all the same.
Yeah, I agree. MJF worked over Daniel Garcia's arm most of the match, so I think you could kind of see where it was heading towards the salt of the earth finish from MJF. He gets the win here, and it really felt like with the way that this match ended, they had MJF go to shake Garcia's hand, and 2.0 wouldn't let him shake his hand. Did you get the impression that MJF might choose Garcia to be his partner for that Ring of Honor tag match?
No, I think they're gonna do Joe. I just think this is. I think that was more a continuation on Garcia's storyline than
Okay.
MJF. Um,
Uh,
I think MJF really kind of took the criticisms that a lot of AEW fans had of the last episode of Dynamite, and I felt like this match was a response to that. Which we also talked about it last week too, as you know, as we all know. I was very down on Dynamite last week. I didn't think it was a very good show, and I thought that AEW made a lot of mistakes, last week. And it was nice to see them kind of bounce back in a way where a lot of the younger talent kind of took the stage back, which I thought was important.
yeah.
And MJF, after the match was even saying to the camera that like the youth in this company is the future. Like that's what AEW is about. And so that's important. Um but so I think that was more so Garcia kind of getting ready to break off from 2.0. Obviously, Cool Hand Ange is teasing to do something with Ruby Soho, which is interesting. We'll see how
Yeah,
that
that
goes.
would
But
be really nice. He does like a little manager type thing with her. I'd like that.
maybe something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was a great match. I think everyone looked great. I just would have had it gone on last.
Yeah, I was kind of agreeing with you there. I actually predicted this to go on last in the old predictions on Falls Count Anywhere. So missed that one. Um, but this was great. Next up, we got a Mark Briscoe video package on Jay White. This was very good. That was gonna be our main event later. Next up was Darby Allin and Sting versus the Outrunners. And I thought if the MJF match wasn't gonna be the main event, I thought it would have been this one. Um, but turns out they went with the Mark Briscoe
Oh,
and Jay White.
I'm sorry. You thought Sting and Darby Allin versus the Outrunners was going to main event the show?
I just felt like Sting either deserves to go first or last in this, but it wasn't like a solid. I wasn't like,
So
wow.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I agree with you, right? Sting and Darby Allin in a tag match at this point should go on in a premium spot on the show, which is why I'm going to get into why I thought I was so it was so stupid for the Outrunners to get this spot. So here's my thing, right? Like we officially know that we are in the end of days for Sting's career. The twilight is here. The sun is setting. It's over. March is what, 6 months away? We are 6 months away from the end of Sting's career, where he seems very sincere in that this is it. You probably have, assuming he's going to wrestle somewhat regularly on TV, you're probably looking at 10 to 15 more matches out of Sting.
Mm-hmm.
And so like this was what we could do.
Okay,
Like a semi squash match against two guys who aren't on the roster, but like they're some of the more prominent enhancement talent.
but
I I couldn't stand it.
these guys are a little bit of a joke reference back to the '80s when Sting had his blonde hair. Like I thought it was funny that they did this. And look, if you go back, in history, guys like the Legion of Doom, you always need somebody to squash. And I thought these guys were hilarious. I love these guys, to be honest with you.
So here's
And
the thing. No,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I
No,
was
no,
gonna
go
say
ahead.
I wouldn't be surprised if Sting even like asked for these guys because he was like, dude, these guys are funny. Let me just squash these guys.
So number one, two guys from the '80s paying homage to the fact that Sting wrestled in the '80s. That still makes this dumb, in my opinion. What was your second point? Because I also didn't like your second. Your second point was
I just like these guys.
even Legion of Doom needed squash matches.
Yeah.
When we are 6 months away from Sting's career and literally moments and seconds are literally a very finite thing that we have with Sting. We don't need any more squash matches. Sting. There's no point to have a squash match when you're 6 months away from retiring. There's no need.
I see what you're saying, but
Um,
what's up, Michael
so,
Duke? Oh, Michael Duke says they were in Portland last year. All right.
There you go. It's less than 6. Yeah, I know now. I'm just ballparking right now without anything in front of me. But that makes my point even more like prevalent. Like we couldn't have picked anybody on the roster, any of the tag teams that we have on this roster to like it's Sting. It's the end of his career. And like I understand that we have big matches coming still, but like man, like knowing that knowing that we have an end date, like concrete, solid, done, like I'm sorry, you can't book Sting in a squash match at this point. Like unless he's going to be wrestling like every single week on every single show, which I really don't think that's going to be the case. Like you're wasting prime last few moments you have with Sting. Do some memorable, cool stuff, like some moments, like moment maker. And I was just like, it was
Yo,
not.
the Wrestling for Life Network up in the chat. What's up, man? Thank you very much for dropping by, my man.
What's up, man?
Hey, if you guys haven't checked him out yet, go check out Wrestling for Life Network. Give him a subscribe and a follow there wherever on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. He's really cool. He helps us out a lot, supports us on Twitter, and he shouted us out tonight on his watch along show. So thank you very much, man.
Appreciate it.
All right, so Sting does pick up the win here with the Scorpion Deathlock. I had a little bit of fun here being a massive Sting fan. I got the Sting Brawl Buddy back there. There's freaking Sting figures everywhere. I had fun with the match, but I totally understand because like you're really down on squash matches lately, and I totally understand because there's been a lot. So I'm not going to try to argue with it. You know what I mean?
But again, like I'm not even. If you noticed, I didn't even make a big fuss about the fact that it was kind of a squash match. I'm not upset that Sting and Darby Allin won this match in a dominant fashion. I'm just saying, like, you have an opportunity right now to make as many moments as you can with Sting before he's done. And
I agree.
Like, I don't know, like, we couldn't have done something a little bit more, interesting, a little bit more entertaining, something with people that are on the roster. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know who exactly off the top of my head, but like, I don't know. Like, if you need like 5-6 minutes of TV time to kill, shit, I'm gonna say this, but like, I'd rather the Hardys be in that spot. Like, I know I've been saying that, like, get the Hardys off TV, but like, that's a spot where I'm like, okay, well, let Sting and Darby beat the Hardys in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, where it's
Now-
like, wow, like, remember that time? Like, hey, look, like, maybe this match wasn't very good, but like, the moments, like, when we're looking at like a year or two down the line, when AEW has like their streaming library set up, right, wherever they have it,
Yeah.
and they have like the Sting collection, like, you could have had like something there tonight. Instead, like, nobody's gonna go back and watch Sting and Darby Allin versus the Outlaws. Like,
What up, Grant? Grant says, "Who is the person in the devil mask?" I'm just gonna come out and say it because I want to will it into existence. It's CM Punk, man.
Well, so okay, I'm just gonna say it, Jeff. So, it's about the end of the show. So, did you realize what happened in the? You know what? No, I'll wait.
Let's wait until stuff gets there because I think I know where you're going. But all right, let's go next up here. It was time for Timeless, Tony Storm, and Hikaru Shida with Tony Schiavone. I absolutely loved this. Tony Schiavone's like, yes, we are here in black and white. And I was just like, no shit, Tony, but thanks. And Hikaru Shida has just absolutely had enough of Tony Storm. It was absolutely hilarious the way that Hikaru Shida was reacting to everything Tony was saying. But Tony Storm says Shida may have the title, but she will not have the spotlight. I loved this. Absolutely loved it.
I did too. Before I give my thoughts real quick, you doing the whole black and white thing made me think of something that was just hilarious today. So I was on TikTok, right? And I'm watching, I'm just going through my feed. And obviously, in case you aren't aware, Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. So my TikTok feed filled with Cowboys fans melting down.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it. I'm loving it. And there's this one guy, he's a Cowboys fan. He's losing his mind. And on his wall, I'm looking at this video and I look on his wall and he has I would say it was bigger than an 8x10, but it was like a framed picture of Kevin Nash on his wall. And I'm like, this man is one of the biggest losers I've ever seen in my entire life. He's a Cowboys fan who actually took wall real estate and put up like I don't know, again, bigger than an 8x10, but a framed picture, not a poster, but a framed picture
That's funny.
of Kevin Nash. And I was just like, what are we doing here? What is going on?
Uh,
Oh man. Anyways, that made me think of the NWO, the black and white. But anyways,
yeah.
this is a great segment. I really loved them.
It was
Pretty
a
much all of
contract
it.
signing. I didn't even realize it was till the end when Sheeta like signed it and threw it at her. I was like, oh shit, that was a contract signing.
Yeah, it was one of the better ones they've done. But I love that
Absolutely.
Cheetah's like, what happened? She's like, you happened. I
Yeah.
was supposed to go and be the champion, and you broke me. She said, I couldn't make history, so I became history. So I'll see you at Full Gear, Hikaru. She called her Hikaru.
Yeah.
I was like, that's incredible. That was so good.
The one thing I wanted to say about that Cowboys game, man, is after the fact that like so many delusional Cowboys fans are like, we're still better than the Eagles. And I'm just like, in what way, shape, or form do you guys still believe you're better? Like, it was a miracle you even had a chance at the end of the game.
So here's the thing, right? Number one, the national media blows me away on a regular basis. The fact that they consider this to be a moral victory for the Cowboys, right? Like, I don't know how you can consider it a moral victory for the Cowboys, because what you saw on Sunday is what the Cowboys have done for 30 years,
Yeah.
where, like, yeah, they'll win some games, but when you really
Dude.
need them to come through, that game on Sunday could be the difference in the 1 seed. That game could be the difference in the division. And when the Cowboys really needed to step up and make that play, they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They just couldn't do it.
And so
At the end of the day, the Eagles were 3 for 3 in the red zone. The Cowboys were 1 for 3.
yeah.
Flags, the refs were absolutely terrible, but I would argue that they were equally terrible on
Yeah,
both
they were
sides.
bad for both sides.
The officiating was terrible, and if anything, the officials were trying to give the Cowboys the points with the bad call on the touchdown that luckily the replay took off the Cowboys scoreboard, or the 2-point conversion where Dak clearly stepped down. The referees really wanted to give it to him. They were like, Mr. Prescott, we're trying to give you this. And the instant replay was like,
Oh, that's on
no.
Dak, dude. That's 100% on Dak not wanting to get touched by Brandon Graham.
For sure. And that's
all he
why
had to do is put his shoulder into Brandon Graham and push him into the end zone, and he gets that touch. He gets that.
And that's why I say, like, that's what Dak Prescott is. He doesn't have heart. He doesn't have that dog in him. But again, yes, he steps out of bounds, and the refs tried to give him that 2 points. And the instant replay was like, no.
Yeah.
Those were not points.
And Michael Duke, so that was just an example of why, like, so you might think Dak Prescott played better than Jalen Hurts when you look at the stat line, but when you look at the things that happened in the game that caused the team to win, Dak didn't do the things that he needed to win, and Jalen Hurts did. So the 300 plus yards doesn't mean anything when you lose. You had one of the best performances by Dak in a long time, and 192 yards by your wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb.
Like, yeah, and keep in mind that the man covering CeeDee Lamb, undrafted rookie Eli Ricks, was the man covering CeeDee Lamb.
And listen, I hate accusing people of being dirty players and blah, blah, blah.
Oh my
but
God.
The Dallas Goedert play, okay, you saw me put it in Discord the second it happened. Before they even showed the replay, I said, his arm is broken. That guy did it on purpose. If you have ever done a jiu-jitsu class in your life and have ever been put into, I think, I forget what that one's called. It's either an Americana or a Kimura, something like that. It is absolutely obvious exactly what that guy intended to do, and the way he fell to the ground was to hurt his arm. There is no question in my mind. I saw it the second he did it. I knew his arm was broken. Like, it was just what it is. Like,
look, like, here's the thing. At the end of the day, and I guess we can move on after this, but, like, at the end of the day, I don't think the Cowboys this year are a bad team, but they're just a team that has yet to show that they're going to rise to the occasion. They're a team that if they get out in front early, they're going to maintain it, and that's great. But they haven't really come from behind. They were, again, the Eagles were 3 for 3 in the red zone. The Cowboys were 1 for 3. When they needed it most, what happened to the Cowboys? A sack, and then 2 penalties. And then there was 2 penalties and then a sack, and then, like, no time management whatsoever. Instead of clocking the ball, spiking it, they're like, let's just run a play. Like, who knows who called that play? Like, it was a Cowboys It was a typical Cowboys game where it's like
Well,
they just couldn't rise to the occasion.
at least Michael's fantasy team got the win, so that's a plus. I'm glad your fantasy team got the win, bro.
Yeah, way to go.
All right, let's get back on track here. Next up, it was whose house? Swerve's house with Swerve Strickland versus Penta El Cero Miedo. Penta with the broken tables gear tonight. That orange gear was incredible. That might be my favorite gear I've ever seen on him. Maybe his dark Penta gear, but I really enjoyed that orange gear tonight. Swerve immediately trying to get the mask off of his head, man. Getting into Penta's head the entire match, thinking he's going to rip his mask off the whole time. Thought that was an awesome little psychology added to the match.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I thought this match was awesome. Great match. Loved it.
So good.
Swerve is ready for big things. My thing, I have an issue. And this is more a creative issue than match. So why exactly is Hangman Adam Page punished for Swerve Strickland breaking?
How was he punished? By not being allowed ringside?
He was banned from ringside.
Yeah, because they knew he was going to run out there and try to kill Swerve. So, think about it like from an HR perspective. It's like, dude, you're not allowed out there near Swerve,
I hear you, and it's not like a major thing, but it just seemed kind of dumb, especially because you knew he was going to attack after the match was over. Yeah. My thing is, why even say it? Like, just let it be.
Like, I see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying.
I don't know. When I was watching I was like, hang on, why is Hangman get not allowed to go to work? Swerve is. Again, like, it's stupid wrestling stuff, but
I see what you're saying, and that might be a little bit of overthinking it. So, they could have just left that out of the script, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Hangman's gonna show up at the end of the match. Just don't say anything. Like, just let it be. Let it happen. Like, Hangman could say, like, I'm gonna hope that Penta beats him, and then I'm gonna show up and fuck him up. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But they didn't do that. They were like, he's banned.
It wasn't horrible though.
No, again, it's just a little issue. Yeah. Why? But the match was excellent, and the post match was even better.
Dude, there was probably 5 or 6 different holy shit chants in this match. People in the crowd absolutely loved this match, as well did I, watching it on television. Swerve keeps on trying to take the mask off, but he winds up picking up the win. I thought this was an incredible match from Penta and Swerve. But as soon as Swerve continues to try to rip the mask off of Penta, Hangman shows up with a chair, and he chases Swerve up the ramp and absolutely annihilates him with a chair. I think there was at least 3 chair shots, maybe 2 or 3 chair shots, and then a deadeye off of the ramp through 2 tables. Hangman with a massive shout out to the Broken Tables podcast. Thank you very much, Hangman. This was awesome. I loved that deadeye through the tables. That shit looked nasty, dude.
It was a great match. It was so good. So after the match, Hangman Adam Page shows up in all black, starts swinging with reckless abandon, and at first, Swerve gets away. Hangman pursues, hits him with the chair. Prince Nana runs away. Thank God. Some security guys show up, only 2 for some reason, and Hangman's like, no, destroys them with the chair shot. The refs show up, and again, this isn't a nitpick at all, but I was like, swing at a referee.
Yeah,
you already swung at some security guards. Like, just deck Paul Turner. That's all, man.
That'd be great.
For no reason. Just do it,
Just unprotected chair shot, Paul Turner.
Well, maybe not unprotected, but still. So anyway, Hangman grabs Swerve and does a deadeye off of the ramp through a table. It was so dope. And as Hangman's walking away from Swerve as he's laying there, and says, "You're a dead man, Swerve. You're a dead man."
Ooh. Such a good line from a cowboy.
So here's the thing, right? Here is when I talk about Hangman Adam Page, right? When I say, as I've said in the past, that Hangman Adam Page is him, like, this is what I'm referring.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I agree.
But like, my God, when Hangman Adam Page is on point, he is the star of this company. He is the top guy, as he should be when he's firing on all cylinders. And like, look, like you could say it was because of CM Punk. You could say it was because of booking. I say it's more because of booking. That's just me. Like in my opinion. But you know, I mean, when the dude steps up to the plate, like, and hits a home run, like he crushes it. He's money.
Absolutely.
It's excellent. Excellent stuff.
Yeah. Well, if this is the Hangman we're going to be continuing to get, I can say our protagonist has returned, but we shall see.
The full gear match needs to be some sort of gimmick, as far as I'm concerned.
We'll see.
I think it needs to be, unless they're going to do a third match.
I'm thinking a steel cage match would be good for those two, or
You know, it's funny because the one thing that AEW can't do, and I think this could really evolve into something that would make a lot of sense to do it in. Man, this would be such a great Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, or I was thinking like at Swerve's house somehow, like have Hangman arrive at Swerve's house with a referee and just
like some sort of cinematic
do like a
match.
video,
That could be
cinematic.
really cool. Yeah, that could be really cool.
All right, next up we had a Bullet Club Gold Jay White promo. Very good. There was a Don Callis promo directly after this one, a nice video package of him and Takeshita. And then a really, really cool video package response for Kenny. I don't mean to like cut the other two videos short, but Kenny's was really cool. Like they put some editing effort into that thing. I definitely recommend you go on Twitter and check that out because Kenny's response to Don was awesome.
Yeah, it was very good.
Next up, we had a live interview with the Golden Jets, Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega with Renee Paquette. The Young Bucks show up and they are absolutely still hating on Chris Jericho. And Kenny kind of sort of feels like the Bucks think that they could defeat the Golden Jets. So he lets the Bucks know that they're still acting like a couple of children. Did you catch this line, Rome?
Yeah, so Jericho and Kenny are talking, and Jericho is happy that both he and Kenny have such good friends that are going to back them up next week in the Like a Dragon street fight. Which I mean, I think that's a good marketing. Like again, I'm all for good marketing matches. I don't know if a match this deep into a blood feud with Kenny, Chris, and the Don Callis family should have like a marketing match to it. But I mean, that's what they're doing, so okay. But the Bucks show up. They're still mad. They said that they didn't dress in their locker room because of Jericho. They said that they dressed with the enhancement talent in the broom closet.
Yeah.
Jericho points out that Jericho makes such a great point here that I was having an issue with weeks prior, where he was like, "Man, Young Bucks, like, why didn't you back up Kenny when Will Hobbs destroyed him?"
Yeah, and they really just kind of like shook their heads.
So Jericho says that he could beat the Bucks. And then the Young Bucks said that they want to face the Golden Jets at Full Gear. And then the stipulations were what really were funny to me. So Jericho tells the Bucks to put their title shot that they've been sitting on the line. And my first thought was like, oh, so we are remembering that it happened. So
yeah, I thought the same thing. I was glad they referenced it. I was glad they did.
Oh, no, I mean, yeah, definitely. But I was just like, oh, okay, so we aren't just sweeping it under the rug. We just didn't talk about it for 2 months. Good to know. Good to clarify. And then the Bucks, they say, okay, fine, we'll put that shot on the line, but if we win, you guys will never team again. And I'm sitting there like 2 weeks ago, or whenever this alliance started, it was made very clear that Kenny and Chris Jericho are not friends. It was made very clear these guys were not friends and they were literally together so that way they could beat Don Callis because they hate Don Callis more than they hate each other. So, like, I was just like, this is a weird stipulation because you would have to assume, again, could be wrong, you would have to assume that next week's match is the last match of the feud with Callis.
You can never assume that with Jericho.
No, and again, I get that, but like, let's just go off of like a basic assumption that like this is a street fight. It might be the last match. This feud's been going on for like 6 months now. The pay-per-view is coming up, sure, but you know, you would have to assume that Kenny and Chris's partnership was coming to an end somewhat soon. So I was just like, oh, I don't think these guys want to be a tag team in the long run. Kenny said that he wanted to focus on his singles work, and they don't like each other. So I don't know. I thought it was just kind of silly.
Even without the point you made, like that's a great point. I still was like, that's an odd stipulation for the Bucks to choose. You guys can never team again. I was like, what do you even care? Like,
yeah, like again, it made Kenny's comment at the end really apt. But so Kenny says that he's like, look, you guys are the best tag team of all time, but I already know that I can beat you guys. I've done it twice before.
Yeah, he was like Ibushi, Hangman. I was like, ooh, like those were jabs.
Kenny says that the Bucks are acting like sissy, whiny, bitchy children.
And immediately, you know, my first thought when he said children was CM Punk again. You know what I mean? And remember, dude. If Punk is the devil and the fucking Bucks are with him, bro, I will lose my shit.
Yeah, you can't do that to me.
That would be like, I don't know if we could get it by Christmas, but that would be Merry Christmas for, I'm sure, both of us.
That's all I've ever wanted. That would.
And yo, so let me throw out some of my thinking here, okay? So since the time Punk punched Jack, that's around the time the SAG-AFTRA strike happened, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Punk was like, dude, just fucking fire me for now. Like, you know, I'm just thinking like it feels like it goes along with the strike, and Punk is definitely supporting that strike. I've seen him do it multiple times. And I'm like, I wonder if he's trying to like help support the strike, and like maybe this is like an undercover, him being suspended type thing, or just, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but you know, I don't know where I was going with this.
I don't know.
Let's just move on. It makes no sense.
I also, though, I can't lie. When he said that line, I did like right away think of CM Punk. I was just like, all right, well now we're doing this, huh?
I know, like if WWE is gonna make 50 references, they're like, shit, why don't we make a couple? No reason not to, you know. All right, next up we had the Ring of Honor Television Championship match, Keith Lee versus Samoa Joe. We got meat chants right off the bat. Meat. There's a sign that made me lose my fucking shit. I was laughing so hard, Rome. And it was a lady holding a sign that said, "This vegan loves meat." And dude, I don't know if I'd ever laughed that hard from a sign before. And I don't even know if it was warranted here, but I thought that was way too funny.
Yeah, definitely.
So Samoa Joe and Keith Lee have a great match here. I thought this was a fantastic match. Very good. Samoa Joe wins with the rear naked choke. I'm not going to call it the Coquina Clutch anymore because I think he actually gave the name to, what's her name? Shayna Baszler over there in WWE, because he has not called it that since he's left. So I'm just going to go with rear naked choke, which is what that is. He picks up the win. And I was as confused as the crowd was when this first happened. And after the whole thing is done and over with, I really enjoyed it, but I'm still wondering. So let's kind of explain it here. So Joe gets on the mic and he explains that he's going to vacate the Ring of Honor Television Championship. And he kind of pauses, you know, he turns around and looks at the crowd, and even some people in the crowd are like, what? Why? You just won the match. And I'll be right there with them, and I'm sure you, because I can see your reaction here. I was along the same exact lines. But then when Joe said so that I can go after the AEW World Championship, the crowd cheered and I thought it was good as well. But I'm still left with the feeling of like, why didn't he just lose to Keith Lee? But then at the same time, I would explain that away by saying, then it doesn't make sense for him to go after MJF. So I want to know your thoughts here. I see the glasses coming on. Let's hear it.
Rest in peace to Ring of Honor. You know, here's my thing. I don't even know where to begin because I have so many issues with Ring of Honor and AEW. And obviously, look, it's the better of the two situations. I'm glad that Tony Khan bought it over WWE. Not saying that, but like, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing with Ring of Honor and in the way it's being booked and being treated. Obviously, I've been talking about it for weeks. There is no Ring of Honor champions other than Athena show up on Ring of Honor, and it's so frustrating. And then to see, so number one, why not have Keith Lee beat Samoa Joe? So I understand your point about like, well, if Joe loses, that's momentum. He's losing on Dynamite, and then he can't really go for the AEW. Okay, fair enough. Here's my counterpoint. Why didn't this match happen on Ring of Honor TV? Why? Why? Do you know, Jeff, that this fucking week, they have Rampage and Collision being taped on Friday? Like, they're literally taping Ring of Honor tonight, I'm pretty sure. Because, like, when else are you taping it? Unless you're doing a 2-hour Dynamite with nothing else tonight. Like, tape it on Ring of Honor. Let Ring of Honor be its own entity, where you don't need to have Joe hold the title. Like, Joe doesn't have to lose on AEW TV. He can lose it on Ring of Honor. Right? But okay, let's say that we don't do that, right? Okay, so Joe, he looks at it and he's like, you know what? We're going to have Samoa Joe beat. Okay. Fine. That's fine. Why the fuck does Samoa Joe need to throw away a Ring of Honor title to chase an AEW title? Because, like, number one, it's not like this guy's been defending the title regularly. So, like, that's one thing. Number two, like, it just devalues the Ring of Honor television title. And they just continue to, like, devalue these Ring of Honor titles on AEW TV by making them meaningless prop. And it just keeps happening. Like, where has Eddie Kingston been? He's the Ring of Honor World Champion. Yes, he's suspended from Ring of Honor TV, which, LOL, that's hilarious. But, like, he hasn't been on AEW TV. So the Ring of Honor World Champion is MIA right now. Don't know where he's at. The tag champion. Like, okay, MJF has locked that down with a storyline. But, you know, and if Adam Cole ends up being the Joe or the Devil, then that means that those Ring of Honor tag titles, the plan was for them to sit there and do nothing for the most part on Ring of Honor television, which that's crazy. None of the championships are doing anything of significance right now. And so for Samoa Joe to cement himself as the longest reigning Ring of Honor television champion, and instead of putting someone over, you just have him vacate the title because he wants another title? On any level of thinking, it makes no sense. And all it does is devalue the Ring of Honor brand. It doesn't benefit Joe. It doesn't benefit Keith Lee. It doesn't benefit anybody to do this. Because, like, now what you're going to do is you're going to have a tournament, which I love tournaments. I know some people don't love them. Totally okay with them doing tournaments. But, like, why couldn't Joe just lose the title? If you want to take the belt off him, just have him lose the title on Ring of Honor television. And then, you know what? Because it's a separate entity, you don't even need to mention it. Like, maybe in passing, he comes out and you're just like, oh, he's not the champion anymore because he lost it on Ring of Honor. And you know what? That might even make more sense for the storyline. If he loses the Ring of Honor title in a correct, proper fashion, he could be like, you know what? Maybe it's for the best because I'm hungry for something bigger than that title. And then you move him forward. You move him on. And it's just like, there's so many problems that I have with this segment. And it's so many problems that have just been ongoing, which is probably why it makes me as mad as it did. because I'm sitting there and I'm like, who benefits from this? Because like, and that's the other thing, like Samoa Joe, right? Like, it's not like he's earning a title match. He's going to be MJF's partner to be handed a title match. So why does he not need, like, why can't he have the Ring of Honor Television Championship? I don't understand that. And then like, even if you go back to like the OG AEW mindset, the winner's purse mindset, right? Where like champions make more money. Why is Samoa Joe actively choosing to not have more money? Why is Samoa Joe, like, why not vacate that title after you win the AEW World Championship or even get a shot at the AEW World Championship? At this point, you just look like a fucking idiot because, like, let's say again, it's wrestling, kayfabe, but let's say in the sake of the kayfabe, let's say Samoa Joe vacates his Ring of Honor television title, right? And then he's like, well, now I have to go back up MJF, and MJF doesn't pick you to be your partner, and then you don't have a title shot or a title. You're just an idiot. Oh God, I don't know what the thought process is here. I don't know, but I could just tell you without a shadow of a doubt, as much as I love Samoa Joe, as much as I enjoyed this match, as much as I love Ring of Honor, that was fucking stupid. I hated it.
So here's where I'll just kind of be a counter argument to you.
Go ahead.
So I agree with most of what you said here, but I think it's going to lead to the Ring of Honor Television Championship being back on Ring of Honor. You know what I mean? So I think like right now that I don't understand why they had him defeat Keith Lee and then relinquish it. I'm just, it is what it is. The crowd seemed to enjoy it when he said he was going after the world championship, but I do think this is the beginning of those championships actually meaning something again, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? So I think we may get something good out of it, but it definitely felt very odd and weird here tonight.
And then it's the other thing. So Nat says it to even make my argument even better. They could have just done like a multi-man match.
Oh, 100% agree with that comment. Absolutely. That could have been the better way to do it.
It's just like, yes, it makes so much sense. And for them to just not do any of that and just have Joe win the match, defend the title, and then throw the belt down, like, this is garbage. I don't want the belt. I want another belt. And I'm just like, man, you are just continuing. I don't know why Tony Khan has this obsession with just devaluing the Ring of Honor brand. And I hate to say it, but like, and again, way better off that Tony bought it than AEW. But like, if I hadn't, I'm sorry, yeah, WWE, sorry. Been a long day. If I hadn't been unsubscribed from Honor Club for like months now because the app just doesn't work for some reason on my laptop, and I have no reason why. But like, out of convenience or lack thereof to watch it is why I'm not subscribed. At this point, I would already be like seriously questioning my subscription, because it's like, yes, there's great matches and good content happening on Ring of Honor, but like, it's a show without champions, where your champions aren't doing anything, and instead your champions are all on AEW TV devaluing their titles. Like it's not acceptable. It's just garbage.
All right, well, let's move on here. Next up, we had an absolutely incredible promo from Orange Cassidy on Jon Moxley. I mean, if you're looking for Orange Cassidy to start being serious, like if you want to see that side of him to see whether or not you want to cheer for the guy, here it was. This was a fantastic, serious promo from him about how even though he has the belt, it doesn't feel right because he didn't beat Moxley to get it, because obviously Moxley's the one who defeated him for it. I loved every second of this. Orange Cassidy is incredible.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Orange Cassidy, he opens up the promo talking about based off what Mox had said. He's like, I didn't overlook you, John, and I didn't pick up the pieces of Penta or of Rey Fenix. I picked up the pieces of the champion I picked up the piece that you dropped.
Yeah.
And he's like, it doesn't feel the same being the champion. Nat says, if you need to watch what's going on in ROH, you just have to watch AEW. And that is so dumb. I 100% agree.
Yeah. I'm just going to finally say it. I want Ring of Honor completely separated from AEW. I really do. I want it like out.
It doesn't even need to be completely separate. It just needs to be done in a smarter way that values Ring of Honor time. and it's branded. They don't do that.
I feel like the experiment has gone on long enough. Like you know.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But so anyway, so Orange Cassidy says that he says, I need to beat you. At Full Gear, I will beat you. And like, man, again, much like Hangman, when I talk about Orange Cassidy, and I'm like, this guy's a star. And if you don't see it, Jeff, do we have the thing? Do we have it?
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Yes, sir.
If you can't see it, if you can't see the Orange Cassidy's a star, can't help you. I don't know. The dude's a star, and whatever, he's on fire, and I can't wait to see him and Mox go at it at Full Gear. And again, the funny thing is, and this is how good some of the storylines are right now in AEW. As much issues I've had the last few weeks, there are some really great storylines going into Full Gear. Where like this is another one where I'm like, man, this match should be like a street fight, or like this should be a blood match. These guys are serious.
Yeah. Nat says you can have the AEW mid cards show up in Ring of Honor, but the top guys shouldn't. Yeah, and you know what's weird, Nat? Like your comment kind of brings a thought to my head that they're doing like the opposite of NXT. Like NXT brings the top guys from their main shows over to kind of boost that show. Like start doing that. Bring AEW guys over to the Ring of Honor show. I don't care about the Ring of Honor stuff in AEW anymore. I don't. You know what I mean? Like I did when we bought it, and it was great to have it for a while. We got the library, all that, woohoo. But like I said, the experiment's over for me. You know, I feel like do the AEW guys can go over there, but leave it over there.
I agree.
Next up, we had the Guns versus the Bollywood Boys. Man, I was pretty stoked to see the Bollywood Boys until they got absolutely fucking squashed in like 30 seconds. But the crowd was cheering for them. The crowd was chanting Bollywood, Bollywood. So that was pretty cool. But like I said, unfortunately, another squash match here. And I really didn't like this squash match. I'm finally going to be on your side right here. I didn't like that a team that was so kind of beloved by the crowd got squashed so quickly.
Here's the thing. You don't have to do a squash match here.
No.
You could just have the Guns come out and cut that promo. Because here's the thing. The promo from the Guns was excellent. It was
very good, yeah.
It was probably one of their best promos, and it was very good. And it was for me, at least in my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I felt like that promo got the biggest reaction of the night from the fans. Like, that was the hottest promo.
Real quick, let me throw some psychology at you now that we're getting to this little bit. Do you think the squash of the Bollywood Boys, because the crowd liked them, do you think that was to get the crowd to boo them the way they did? Because the crowd really booed here.
I don't think it's safe to assume that when you're going to do a squash match, you're going to get a lot of heat like that. So I'm going to say potentially no. If they planned it that way, that's a big gamble in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially having it be two guys who aren't signed. Like, again, I know the Bollywood Boys are huge indie guys, but
Twitter was going nuts for them.
I know. Well, they always do. I think they're a fine tag team. I'm not as into them as it seems like most of the internet is, but that's just
I think they're perfect for Ring of Honor.
I agree with that. I think they would be very, very good there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, here's the thing. You don't need to do a squash match. What do you value from having the Guns do a squash match? I understand they have a title match 2 weeks in the pay-per-view, but hear me out on this. Yeah. Instead of doing this squash match, what if you take that 2 minutes that you did that squash match, give it to Sting and Darby Allin versus a better team, so that way you go like 7 or 8 minutes, and you can have more of a match, so that gets better. And then here, you just let them do the promo, and the promo is great, fantastic. Like, I don't know, like, what are we, like, why are we doing more squash matches? Like,
I'm all right with that.
We're getting squash matches on Dynamite. Like, it's just like, Jesus Christ, why squash matches every single show? It's every show now, Jeff. Or it's Dynamite and Rampage and Collision. Like, it's not acceptable. Like, you have such great talent on your roster. You don't need to do squash matches every single show. Again, I'm understanding how Rampage works. Like, it's an hour of TV where you want to get 4 matches on that card.
Yeah.
Totally get it. I will never complain about a squash match on Rampage, nor did I in the past, if you recall. I never had an issue with them doing a squash match on Rampage. maybe 2 if they were feeling ballsy. But like now we're at a point where we're getting 2 squash matches per show, like every Wednesday, every Friday, and every Saturday. And it's like they're not fun. They don't add anything to your show. You could very easily take these 5 minutes and give them to someone else to do more with it. Like, it's just dumb.
I see what you're saying. Now that you say it, if you could have just given this extra time to the Sting match and a better team, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. I'm not gonna complain that I got to see the Bollywood Boys tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tony considers signing them in some way, shape, or form because they got a really good reaction. So
Yeah, they've been getting good reactions. I don't think
Yeah.
if Tony hadn't signed them yet, I don't think they're.
But I got to admit, my favorite part of this whole thing was the entrance for the Guns. Juice Robinson had Card Blade, and he was smooching the Card Blade on the cheek. I was fucking dying. Juice is so funny. Love that guy. The Guns cut those promos on MJF for the Ring of Honor titles. Absolutely fantastic promos, like you said. And they showed MJF in the back watching on a television. And Samoa Joe walks up next to him and smiles like, "Hey, friend." I thought that was a nice touch to end the segment there. Next up, we had Moxley with a promo reacting to Orange Cassidy's promo earlier. And he basically says the minute that they land in LA, at LAX, it's going to be on gang warfare. So, dude, I think we're going to get some crazy video packages of them fighting throughout the city of LA. Like at the airport, I think we're going to get a brawl. I think we're going to get one like somewhere at a hotel, maybe, you know what I mean? Or like a few places around town.
So I'm actually very hopeful for that as well. When they said that, I was like, oh, you know what would be really cool is if they do like a parking lot brawl or something like that on Collision. Because remember, next week, Collision's going to be on Friday along with Rampage.
Dude, imagine a parking lot brawl on the airport tarmac. Like somehow they can do it on the freaking on the runway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if they could do some cool stuff there, you could have that be your Collision like main event, like a huge brawl between all. That would be really cool. And I hope that they do. But yeah, I love this from Mox. Mox does say that he said that he knew that Orange Cassidy knew exactly what he was doing, and that it wasn't an innocent play from Orange Cassidy. All the stuff that's been going on. Mox says, "What kind of example are you setting for young Hook?" Yeah. He's like, "What kind of example would I be setting to young Yuta here?" Ruffles his hair. If I just let you do this. He said, "You don't deserve to make it full gear. When we land in LA, it's gang warfare." And Yuta kind of reestablishes that he and Hook are about to be a feud, which I am all for.
Yeah, absolutely. Hook and Wheeler Yuta, that sounds good to me. Listen, if you guys don't remember the Wheeler Yuta versus John Moxley match for him to fucking break his way into the Blackpool Combat Club, go look way deep down into our videos. I have a highlight video of it for the Broken Table of the Week when Yuta goes through the table with Moxley. It is an incredible freaking match. Unreal. Next up, we had another Wardlow video package. Pretty much the same thing he's been doing for the past couple weeks. He hates Max. He took everything from him. You know, it is what it is, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Just another Wardlow video package. Same thing as last week, basically.
Oh, yeah. I had, in my notes, it was like Wardlow segment. He hate Max.
Yeah.
It was good. It's not that it wasn't good.
That's good.
It's just a very, it's a continue of the story. There's so many people gunning for Max right now.
Absolutely. All right, and next up, it's kind of going to sound weird, but this was my most anticipated match of the night. Julia Hart versus Red Velvet. Red Velvet has been out for over 9 months with an injury, and she is finally returned. And I have to admit, I was slightly disappointed that she returned with a completely different look, but the same, straight from her mama's kitchen character. But that I'm not going to let that ruin anything. I wanted to see how did Red Velvet look in the ring. I used to be very, very down on her 9 months ago, 10, 11, 12 months ago. I did not think she was very good. She just seemed very green, nothing against her. She looked fantastic tonight against Julia Hart. I loved the match. I was very happy that she came out and put on a great show. I didn't see anything that I would call a botch. I was very impressed. Uh, the huge moonsault from Julia Hart off the top rope was awesome. Julia Hart picks up the 1, 2, 3 with that moonsault. But this was great, man. I was very happy to see Red Velvet back and her perform well.
Yeah, I think this match was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was great to see Red Velvet back. Julia Hart just continues to impress.
Oh yeah.
She is look, she's taken a step forward in every category. Presentation, in-ring, promo, like the look, out the it factor, like everything that she's taken a step forward in recent months. This year was such a huge year for her because she just
Yeah.
really just came into her own in so many ways. And obviously, the House of Black compliments her the way she compliments them, and it's great partnership. But like, man, even like tonight where she's like on her own, coming out on her own, right? It's like great.
Yeah. And
Excellent stuff.
I don't want this to sound like an insult at all because it's not. It's just kind of like my description. Velvet used to look like a little anorexic. Like she was super skinny and tiny. She looked like she definitely put on that weight that you needed, to I don't know how to say it other than to not look like you're anorexic, I guess. But she had this look to her tonight that gave me some Bailey vibes. Did you feel that at all? I'm wondering if maybe the same person made their gear, but I don't know what it was, but I got some Bailey vibes from her. Which you know me, I'm a huge Bailey fan. I got her autograph up here behind us, so yeah, but great match. Afterwards, she locks on the Heartless after she picks up the win. Julia Hart locks Red Velvet into the Heartless. Sky Blue comes out. I put for the save in quotation marks because she didn't really do anything. She just stood there, but it did cause Julia Hart to let go of the Heartless, and they go face to face. And for a reason that I could not understand, Willow and Chris Statlander came out and just kind of stepped in front of Sky Blue. Now, I know that they've been part of the whole picture here, but I was just like, why is Statlander stepping in front of Sky Blue? Like, this was obvious that Sky Blue was like making it a point to get in Julia's face. And Statlander was just kind of like, hey, what's going on? I was like, yo, that's kind of a heelish move there, Stat. It's like she's picking a fight with Sky Blue at this point. What up, Scully?
Yeah, what's up, Scully? Scully likes your toy collection.
Thanks, man.
So this post match really gave me hope back.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna get back on track here and do what I thought they should do? Because the way that it seemed here is that Sky Blue might actually still turn.
Yeah.
She's still spooky. So that's good. And then again, I think this is the second week in a row where there's some tension between her and Statland. Where she like Sky Blue should not feel respected. Like you said, Stat just kind of steps in front of her very clearly. Sky Blue is not happy about it. So
Yeah.
I hope that they make the right decision there. I hope that they pull that trigger. I think that if you look at what Julia Hart did, like given that opportunity to run with that character change of that magnitude, you got to give Sky Blue a similar opportunity. Like she is in a very similar situation where she has gotten better and better and better, and like just give her something interesting to do storyline wise, and like let's see where it goes, man. Let's just do it.
I'll be honest, I thought for sure Sky Blue was about to miss the shit out of Statlander there, but we didn't get it yet, so. Boring and has no direction, huh, Scully? I don't feel that at all. I feel like they're trying to build somebody up to be her challenger right now, so maybe it feels like she's on the back burner. I can see that, but
so number one, I don't think Statlander is boring. I think Statlander is incredible. She's really good. She's one of the better.
It wasn't too long ago she was what was she squatting Renee on her shoulders, and I was laughing so hard I was crying. So
yeah, no, she's doing great work. Yeah. I think right now they are prepping for the next title defense, whether it be Sky Blue or Julia Hart again. Like I'm going to assume Sky Blue is the next one up, But like I think they're just building the story right now.
Yeah.
But she's been defending the title, and she's not. I wouldn't say direction.
It does feel like Statlander's being like that big sister who's trying to butt in where she shouldn't at the moment. But I guess I can see where you're coming from, Scully. But just give it some time. They're building the storyline here for this women's division. I'm here for it. I like it. Next up, RJ City announces the newest signing for All Elite Wrestling. The Glamour Mariah May is All Elite. And I absolutely love this character Mariah May is portraying here. She is basically a Toni Storm mega fan. And it really felt like she was sending a message to Triple H here of like, I came to Stardom because Toni Storm was here, and now I'm coming to AEW because Toni Storm is here. And, you know, she just rejected the WWE. She told Triple H, no thank you, sir, and chose AEW. I feel like this is a message for them of like, you guys screwed over one of my best, I guess, friends. I'm not positive on that, but I think so. You know, with that whole cream pie bullshit. And she's like, I'm not interested. And I thought this was awesome.
I'm very, very excited for the signing of Mariah May. I think AEW's women's division is really shaping up to we've given fair critiques of the division in general in the past.
Mhm.
I think that 2023 has been a year where Tony Khan has really stepped up his game with the division. Obviously, there was a lot of issues throughout the year. I mean, they tried to do the Outcast thing. We started off with an all-time low point with not bringing in Mercedes Moné at the beginning of the year. But since then, there's definitely been a real effort to make the women's division the best it can be. And I think bringing in Mariah May is one step in the right direction, a big step at that. Now, Mercedes Moné, speaking of her, she did end up liking all of the social media posts of the All Elite graphic for Mariah.
Nice.
I do think Mercedes Moné is coming to AEW. I feel very good about that. And I just think that, man, like you look at this roster that they're building up right now, where it's like Sheeta, Storm, Statlander, Willow, Mariah May, Britt comes back, Monet. Like there's so much, and that's not even everybody. I didn't even mention Athena. Like there are so many women that right now are just gonna be killing it, and it's gonna be a really great division. And you know what? I'll just say it: when that division takes its full final form, which again we're like Jamie Hayter when she comes back. I forgot about Jamie Hayter. When Jamie Hayter comes back and Monet is here, yeah, they should have women's tag titles. They should.
Absolutely. I was gonna say that about the Sky Blue and Julia Hart thing. They would make really good tag team. Well, we don't really know they have the chemistry, but I'm just thinking putting them together to me sounds like that would be a good thing. All right. You know what? I'm just gonna leave this graphic up for a little bit, just because. Next up, it was time for the main event: Jay White versus Mark Briscoe. And now, I know you already said it earlier that this shouldn't have been the main event, but with what they did afterwards, I think it's kind of one of those things where they're like, "Listen, this is why we made it the main event. We get what you're saying, but we needed to do it because of this." So we have a great match between Jay White and Mark Briscoe. Actually really, really good match. Awesome to see Mark Briscoe back from his injury. And I can't believe it didn't occur to me, like when we were in Philly, when we were at the show, like that was his return, like his actual return from being injured. And for some reason that didn't trigger in my brain until like later the next morning. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, we saw Mark Briscoe's return. I was like, damn it. I didn't even realize that at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But great match from him here. We had the entire Bullet Club Gold on the outside of the ring. Even Card Blade was there, obviously. Casting distraction, and Jay White picks up the win with the Blade Runner, and it was clean. There was a little bit of distraction throughout the match, but the ending here was nice and clean. Jay White picks up the win. And since he still has the Triple B, MJF's belt, MJF's music hits, and he sneaks up behind everybody, and he's got the Dynamite Diamond on his hand, and he takes out everybody in the Bullet Club Gold except for Jay White. Jay White bails up the ramp to get away from MJF, and the lights go out. And we see backstage the Devil and the Masked Men absolutely destroy the Acclaimed. Was it Max Caster that went through the glass window pane?
So I will note that the Devil himself was not there.
He did show up at the very end, though, right? It showed his face.
Well, yeah, his face showed up on the screen, but in terms of at the beatdown, the scene
Okay,
of the beatdown,
yes, you're
was
right.
not there.
Like, he didn't step into the screen like that first time. This was kind of, did they cut to a video of him?
Yeah, so tonight they cut to a screen. Like, you know how like they've been doing the last 2 weeks where like he just goes on the screen in like a black room?
Yeah.
They did that. He wasn't actually there.
Okay. Scully says it was Bowens. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I loved the ending to this. Really enjoyed the window spot. Fantastic.
So look, obviously this could be a thought process that the Devil is CM Punk. It could also mean the Devil is Jack Perry. But
yeah,
are we going to talk about the fact that they threw Anthony Bowens through glass?
Yeah.
And that was like a big, obviously, like that's the big thing that did it.
Yep.
So here's the thing where I'm at with the Devil thing, right? My heart of hearts, soul of soul, Genie pops in front of me right now. And he's like, hey man, like, you get one entertainment-based wish. You know? Because I can't ask for like $1 billion or anything like that. He's like, you get one entertainment-based wish. I'm like, you know what? I would really love to not dead inside anymore. I'll take CM Punk coming back. And that everything was smoothed over, and they've just been making it worse because to mess with us. So like I want CM Punk to be the Devil, and I think that there's a lot of ways that it makes a lot of sense. That being said, AEW is in they're doing their thing. They're doing the teases. They're doing the storyline building where like I think that there's a lot of evidence that it's Adam Cole.
Yeah.
I think that there is enough evidence. I would be disappointed if it was, but I think there's enough evidence where it could be Jack Perry.
It could be a lot of people, but I'll be honest, at this point, it feels like they have the mindset of that it's CM Punk, right? But if it's not, they have a lot of backup plans.
Yeah, I know.
It just feels that way.
It just feels that way. And again, like maybe I'm a hopeless romantic. That's my guy. That'll always be my guy.
If it wound up not being him and like, let's say it's Britt Baker, I'll still be like, that was awesome. You know what I mean? But there's just this weird feeling that it's Punk.
I was actually thinking about this the other day, and maybe it's because because at heart, I really want it to be Punk. I feel like I would just be disappointed if it was anyone.
Yeah, like, I've seen that. I've seen a lot of tweets like that. They're like, at this point, if it's not Punk, I'm disappointed.
Like, it's such a great story. Like, it's such a great story that the payoff just needs to be great. And like, I know there was speculation that it was Britt Baker, and I'm like, well, what do we do with that?
Yeah.
Like, what is the end game for Britt Baker to be the Devil? You know, like what's the end game there? Because she can't go for the unless they're going to do that mixed gender stuff, and they're going to have Britt go for the world title, which I'm not opposed to. I'm not one of those guys, but you know,
ooh,
I don't know if that works.
Scully, that just gave me some goosebumps, bro. Like, dude, I like that. Imagine that MJF's dark side is like pushing its way out, and it's like sick of being this nice, the people's scumbag, and it's like an alternate personality of MJF. That's not bad.
That's not bad, but again, like I would be disappointed if it was MJF. I'd be disappointed if it was again like I can't think of anyone other than Punk that I wouldn't be slightly disappointed by it being like Adam Cole. I don't know if this makes a lot of sense then, because so like you tell this story, like MJF is still doing the bidding war of 2024 thing. He's been mentioned, like, so in a matter of in like over the next like literally 2 or 3 weeks, we like as we wrap up November and get into December and get into that build for World's End, like we're going to start hearing about it. Like it's a storyline, like, and no one's talking about it a month out. So
Well, did you catch MJF's jacket tonight? It said 2024 on it in huge numbers.
that's what I'm saying though. Like he is still mentioning it. It's still a thing.
Yeah.
They're not just sweeping it under the rug. Um, so like in my opinion, making drawing out this babyface run from MJF, like just let MJF be over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be a really weird thing for him to be like, all right, well, 2 weeks from now my contract expires and fuck this place. Like, oh man, you were like really like putting the company over for the last month. Like, you've been very nice to the company as a babyface. So it would be really jarring as fast as they could flip this, in my opinion. So like, no, like I don't think Adam Cole being the devil makes a lot of sense here. Um, Coog, I hope so. I don't know, man. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a definite because I don't know. Um, but yeah, I don't know who it could be. I definitely take note of that glass. AEW is very good at subtle teases,
Oh
and
yeah.
like you said, I mean, it just feels like there's a lot of things brewing right now that are about to intersect, and we never see it coming. It happens every year with AEW, where there's always like 4 different storylines, and they end up intersecting, and like I just feel like we're on the verge of that, and I'm really excited to get the Full Gear action because it's like what's going on with the King, what's going on with MJF, what's going on with so and so, um, and I just don't know. Scully says I think that helps speak to the fact that he's not actually going to WWE. I don't think there's any way he would have a storyline freedom. No, I don't think so
Of
either.
course not.
I don't
Yeah,
think. I
absolutely.
don't think, and that's the weird thing, right? Like I just can't fathom. And then this is another thing. You could say I'm being like conspiracy Rome, that's fine. Like I'll take it. I'll run with it at this point. I'll own it. But like I really can't fathom in my life the fact that CM Punk left wrestling for 7 years because of WWE.
Yeah.
And he would like the thought that he would even actually consider going back to WWE, like that just blows my mind. Like
I don't believe
forget
it for a
about even
second.
like critiquing the guy's morals. It just doesn't add up.
Remember his tweet to the Miz? He said, "Go suck a Saudi blood covered dick." You know what I mean? Like, for
Yeah,
him
like
to go back there would be one of the biggest hypocritical moves I have ever seen. It'd be worse than Cody.
well, it would absolutely be worse thing. Um, it just seems really weird to me. It just doesn't make sense. And so like for those stories to come out, and then I think it's funny, right? Where like there are conflicting reports where like so here's the thing. I will always trust Fightful. I know that some people don't like Sean Ross Sapp. I get it. Fightful is one of the, if not the most reputable sources in wrestling media.
Mm-hmm.
They just are. Like they just are.
Yeah.
And when I see a report that Fightful says that WWE higher ups have personally assured Fightful and top talent, we are not bringing in CM Punk. We're not doing it. Then I gotta think about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then isn't it kind of weird that like after that story got kind of squashed, the story came out that CM Punk's camp thinks that they're keeping him in their back pocket for WrestleMania season, and I'm just like, sounds like we're just pushing the goalpost back and
Yeah.
making it sound like he's still going to WWE. Um,
It sounds to me like the WWE was like, listen, we know he has fans. Let's make them think he's going to be at Survivor Series, so they buy the pay-per-view. That's all.
but they're not doing that. They're not even doing that. They are making it clear that he's not going to be there. They've said he's not going to be
Yeah,
there.
but when you watch the show, if you're not a person that's on Twitter and you just watch the show, you see Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura making references to him all the time.
So I would counter argue that and say that I don't think anyone that's watching that's not on Twitter is picking up on those references.
Yeah.
I don't think that anybody that's not on wrestling, anyone that's not part of the IWC is picking up on that stuff.
I can
And
see how you
not,
say. I can see that.
that's not a knock at them.
No,
But for all they know,
I understand. Yeah.
for all they know, CM Punk is like dead.
Yeah.
like there's no way that your casual WWE viewer who takes no part of any wrestling internet stuff just happens to know that CM
Okay.
Punk is currently going through this. So
The
that's all.
Shinsuke Nakamura though, he used the GTS, so like they would notice that. They'd be like, "Wait a second, that was Punk's move," you know?
That doesn't mean anything. Again, because like, keep in mind, Punk's been gone for at this point 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
From that. So it's like, again, like I get what you're saying, and like it's one thing for talent to be doing little things. When higher ups are telling Fightful this, and when higher ups are telling top talent this, and the top talent are also telling Fightful that they were told this.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I totally do.
I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. Like, and I think a lot of those things just don't add up. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
Been wrong before, but it just doesn't. It
Yeah.
does the check isn't cashing. It's not
TKO
clear.
already has enough legal problems with Vince. I mean, let's go ahead and talk on that one, man. TKO coming out and just laying it on the table like, yo, Vince McMahon is probably going to hurt our bottom line. I was shocked that they actually came out and said that. Considering, remember when WWE came out and they were like, Vince is still our CEO, and their stock price went up? I was very shocked to see TKO being like, yo, Vince might cause us some fucking problems here.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
Nasty business. Definitely a nasty business over there. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, absolutely. Shinsuke has used the GTS for years. That's crazy, and I'm not going to deny it because I stopped watching years ago, but I have never seen him use it until the other night.
That's a fun.
All right. Well, that's our review for Dynamite. I had a lot of fun talking about that Devil Mask guy, man. That's a fun one to speculate on. I feel like that's one of the most intriguing stories in wrestling right now is who is this masked man? If you had to put $5 on it right here, right now, who you got?
I mean,
same with chat. Who you guys got? You got to bet $5 right now. Who's your man?
For the sake of willing it into existence, I'll lose the $5 if I have to. I'm gonna say
yes.
And for the sheer sake of proving me wrong, it appears that Eddie Kingston has just defended his Ring of Honor World Title on ROH.
Okay. Finally.
Against Dalton Castle.
Ooh, Dalton Castle, nice. Love me some Dalton Castle. Boys. Scully says, as a massive UFC fan, it hurts with the TKO deal. Really don't want what's an already small sport to shrink more with bad media. Listen, Scully, I don't think that the WWE is going to hurt UFC at all. What I think is going to hurt them, oddly enough, is what I thought the UFC was going to destroy, and that's boxing. Having your heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou, who has the hardest punch on the planet in the history of the world, and that's confirmed, Rome. They had him punch a machine that measures your punch. He punches with the impact of like a 40-mile-an-hour car crash. Nobody else is even close. They had this guy relinquish his belt and quit to go to boxing. He makes $11 million in his first fight, more than his entire UFC career, if I'm not wrong here. I could easily be wrong there, but I believe it's more than his whole career in the UFC. That is really, really going to hurt the UFC. Other fighters are going to see that and be like, wait a minute. I can go to boxing and almost make more than I've ever made here? Like, hold on. I think that's going to hurt them much more than this WWE acquisition. So we'll see where that goes. But as long as they don't start throwing wrestlers over there in the UFC and trying to be like, McGregor and that shit.
Yeah.
But you got anything else that you wanted to go over here, Rome?
No. I think I'm good. They didn't really announce a lot on Rampage. Now remember, so on Friday they're taping Collision for Saturday, but Rampage is going to be live this.
Yeah.
Now we have some great matches announced so far. So Rampage on Friday, live, 10 p.m. It's going to be FTR versus Commander and El Hijo del Vikingo.
Ooh-wee.
Announced for Collision, we got Roosh and Drilistico versus the Workhorse. Also on Collision, we have Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland versus Lance Archer and the Righteous.
Oh, shit.
I don't know if I would feed that trio to that group that quickly, but that's just me. That's fine. I'm sure the match itself is going to be great. And then announced for next Wednesday on Dynamite, John Moxley and Wheeler Yuta will take on Orange Cassidy and Hook.
Nice. So it's always been like that. Take a look when McGregor fought Floyd. Yeah, absolutely. And Coog, boxing is greater than an MMA. That's all in the eye of the beholder, because you got to look at what just happened in that fight, Coog. The world heavyweight boxing champion just boxed the MMA world heavyweight champion, or ex-champion. And in his first boxing match ever, in only 3 rounds, he knocked the world boxing heavyweight champion down. It's kind of hard to argue boxing is greater than MMA. I think it's all in the eye of the beholder there, because if you put a boxing guy in an MMA ring, his chances are probably way lower than an MMA fighter in a boxing ring. You know what I mean?
My opinion is that doesn't matter. Boxing is still more entertaining to watch than MMA.
I can agree with that as long as it's one of those entertaining boxing matches. But like, there's been some boxing matches that I have just absolutely hated amongst the years. But there's also MMA fights like that where 2 dudes just hug each other the entire time on.
See, I personally, and hot take, but I personally, and I've said it before, I just can't find myself ever being entertained with MMA.
Well, I trained for years, so I love it. You know what I mean? But
I get
I
it.
can
mean,
see how
if
people
you're
don't
in
like
it,
it.
I guess. Like if you're literally in it, that's different. That's totally different, Jeff. But as someone like who has tried watching it, I've never been entertained by it. It's just it sounds dumb to say, but it's real fighting. So it's
Yeah.
like that's cool, but like that's not real fighting isn't always fun to watch or exciting or entertaining, because like you said, when you're in there and you're fighting, a lot of times it ends up just being like 2 guys just kind of holding and wrestling each other, but not like wrestling, pro
Yeah, those are
wrestling, but like
terrible.
real wrestling. And it's just I've never been able to like wow, this like I've never sat down and watched it, like a fight, been like, wow, man, that was awesome. That
I'll
was so
admit that a bad MMA fight is much worse than a bad boxing match. I'll definitely admit that.
Whereas like with boxing, like, and again, I don't watch a lot of either, but like I find boxing more entertaining because it's more of a structured competition.
Yeah, the sweet science. I fully understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I would always, for me, I would place boxing over MMA in terms of what I enjoy more. MMA, I've always failed to get into it.
Yeah.
It's never clicked with me.
I do got to say, Scully, you got a great point here, dude. Bo Nickel. So if you don't know who Bo Nickel is, he is a collegiate wrestler in the United States. He is unfrickin' real. This guy is one of the best collegiate wrestlers you'll ever see. And he jumped into MMA, and he is absolutely bulldozing his way through anybody they put in front of him. And he doesn't even have to use his wrestling. He's boxing these dudes' ears off. And it's wild to see this guy. Love me some Bo Nickel. Scully, man, you and me, man, seem like we'd get along, bro. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Definitely appreciate everybody here tonight with us. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us. You got work early in the morning, man?
I do.
I should have tried to wrap it up a little earlier. Go ahead and close us out, sir.
This has been episode 185 of the Broken Tables podcast. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us in the chat tonight. We had a great turnout. Really appreciate everyone showing up. The Coog, Scully, Nat, Michael Duke, Grant was here earlier. I think almost everyone showed up. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're not listening to us live and you're listening to us, in the future, maybe tomorrow morning, you're catching up with us. Let us know in the comments what your favorite part of Dynamite.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear that. Other than that, you can follow us on our social medias, Twitter, You can join the Discord. We have a lot of fun in Discord. If you like video games and pro wrestling, this is the channel that you want to be subscribed to. We talk about the video game world on the Game Room podcast, usually on Monday nights. I have to write it, but this week coming up should be my Starfield review because
Nice.
I'm done with Starfield for now. But I'll talk more about why I'm not done forever during the review. So that's going to be coming up this week on Monday night. Next week, though, in general, big week of content. Dynamite review on Wednesday. Possibly a Friday show because Rampage and Collision are both on Friday next week. And then Saturday is Full Gear. So we'll be doing a watch along for Full Gear.
Yeah,
So
Full Gear.
it's a full gear. It's a full week of content. We are doing I think we have 4 shows next. So it's going to be a
Absolutely.
lot of great content. So, you should definitely subscribe, stick around, hang out with us. We love to be part of the discussion.
Yep.
But until Saturday with our Collision review, we'll see you guys then.
Absolutely. And scroll up just a little bit. Click that Discord link if you haven't joined our Discord. We got channels for everything: sports, AEW, WWE, TV, movies, all that stuff. Join us. But until next time, top guys out.